Welcome to Season 12 of the Social Work Rants podcast, providing an inside look of the social work mental health profession. Social work being political, the struggles of social work entrepreneurship, the intersectionality of mental health and finances as it relates to social work and society as a whole. Let's get it. Hope you enjoy. Social workers, mental health professionals, and change agents. What is going on? Hope everybody's doing well. Welcome to another episode of the Social Work Rants podcast. I'm your host, Bas Moreno. Saludos a todos. Greetings, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. It's happening wherever you are watching or listening to the podcast. I appreciate all the love and support. Continue to follow the podcast on Instagram at the Social Work Rants podcast. That is all one word. Of course, the YouTube channel. Type in the Social Work Rants podcast. Hit that red subscribe button. Hit the like button on the videos if you prefer to watch it on YouTube. On the audio side, leave a 5-star rating. Leave comments. And I'll definitely respond to any comments, good or bad. So shout out to you for supporting all this time. My guest at this time. I had the pleasure of meeting this gentleman at FinCon. If you listen to the podcast, I've talked a lot about FinCon. Any content creator, any social worker doing content creation or have a podcast really should at least go once to FinCon. You learn so much, especially with my business owners. Definitely going to be in Palm Springs in California this year. So never been to Cali. Definitely take a trip. It's going to be an expensive one, but the United States of America 2026 is expensive. So we're going to be talking about mental health and finances today. Been spending a good chunk of time talking about intersection of mental health and finances. I'm writing a whole book, hoping to release it for Hispanic Heritage Month on the intersection of mental health and finances in the Latino community. So been spending a chunk of time talking about it. So Justin Brown Woods from one half of the Price of Avocado Toast podcast. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks so much for having me. I'm stoked to be here.
No, I'm glad we could make this happen and educate folks on their money situations. Money's still a taboo subject. Shoot, they don't even teach us anything about money really in social work school, but yet go through a private practice, but don't teach us anything about taxes or how to market, get clients, or any other back end stuff. So I'm glad we were able to try to educate folks and talk about some money situations.
Yeah, man, this is the fun, nerdy stuff to talk about on a Friday.
Absolutely. Like you got a whole weekend and change to consume the content. So
yeah, exactly.
Might as well get your mind right and your finances right.
Exactly.
We're in a crazy time, and we got the Orange Man doing Orange Man things every day and messing up our money. Or if you're in the stock market, keep up whatever you're doing because it's been going up all-time highs, which and I know a lot of regular folks are not in the stock market, so it's like, what are you talking about? I'm struggling to pay my rent, pay my mortgage, pay my light bill. I got clients that struggling to buy diapers and buy food, and I'm sending resources out for diapers and things like that. So a lot of people are really struggling, and Orange Man is not doing anything to really support. And he said it himself recently too.
Yeah, he's not pulling any punches with his ideas of financial securities or insecurities for Americans right now. That's for sure.
Yeah. So for people who don't know who you are and what you do, let people know a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm one half, you said, of Price of Avocado Toast. It's a podcast my wife and I started in the midst of COVID. We had two California Zinfandel out here and thought to start a podcast. And we started, mid 2020. And it was really just an opportunity to talk about our own debt payoff journey as young parents trying to figure out how to afford life and how to be wiser with our money. And about a year into the show, my wife started a financial coaching business where she wanted to help people learn how to pay off debt and afford the things that they And now this is what we both get to do full time. So I'm an accredited financial counselor, basically help with the kind of intersection of logistics of money. So maybe that is looking at like budgeting and debt payoff strategies and how to save for things about, and a little bit more of the counseling side, not therapy side, but counseling side of understanding behaviors and patterns and how we can set ourselves up through deeper questioning to find success in that logistic side as well. So that's what I get to do. It's a blast to meet people all across the U.S. and help them with their money. Like the coolest job in the world. It couldn't be more fun what I get to do.
Awesome. What are some of the money struggles you're seeing that you're able to share?
I think it's exactly kind of what you said. Like right now, a lot of people are recognizing that regardless of how the market's doing, that's not what we're feeling day to day. We're feeling the fact that gas is rising, that the grocery budget is rising consistently month to month, that we can't take to dine out because cost of goods and services are rising. And even if we want to support our community, right, we recognize that those restaurant owners are our neighbors, are our friends, are people that we love community with, but we don't have the funds to support them. Therefore, then that business also may fail, right? We're seeing that our communities are hurting because of the day-to-day expenses for Americans right now. On top of that, of course, student loan debt, right? Which I know is a big struggle in the social work space. I've got many who are social workers, both, in the clinical setting or, private practice, and it's hard. They're coming with $70,000 of student loan debt and not a light at the tunnel, not an option for getting out of that. And, the work that social workers, that teachers, that all of these public heart-led professions do, that work is necessary and important, but we're seeing people with crippling debt. And again, this debt journey, this cost journey, and it's just not sustainable for a lot. And I think a lot of people are really scared right now.
No, yeah, and rightfully so, and like each, it's funny, like even like towns within like major city hubs or different states are feeling like worse than others. So I know the student loans I've been talking about. I did many episodes on student loans and had like student loan experts on the podcast, and even some of the stuff that I've had them on is already like not even like, because so many changes have happened within the student loans and continue to happen. Like the Trump administration is doing literally things every day and stuff that doesn't get talked about that affecting folks. And so, like I said, I agree. People are like really struggling day in, day out, which causes a lot of anxiety. Like money already causes a lot of anxiety as it is, and now we have a administration doing things that's hurting folks. Whether they see it or not, whether they like willing to admit it or not, that's the other thing too. Like it's not willing to admit like, yeah, I'm like struggling and not really realizing that's coming. The trickle down is coming from the federal government. It's not even like a state issue as well. It can be a state issue, but definitely starting from the federal government first.
Totally. And I think there was a data that came out just a couple of days ago, maybe, that said something like 70% of Americans feel like Trump has done worse with the economy, right? And we know that for most economy and cost of living is one of the biggest priorities for people. It's what we feel first. We feel with our wallets, our bank accounts first. And right now, people are feeling like things are pretty bad out there for people. And obviously, there's hope that we can maybe minimize in some way on our own personal finances, or our own tools that we can use to change that. But I think it's a both and situation where we can also recognize that it's a systemic problem. It's not personal failing. It's not a moral failing on your own. If you're struggling to afford groceries, if you're shaking down whether you need to pay the light bill first or cell phone bill first, right? That's not a you failing. It is a systemic problem that a lot of people are facing.
And like how can like you and I and like folks who are in the helping profession like help understand like kind of teach people that it is a systemic issue because I think a lot of people feel like bamboozled in a way by the government. Like Trump literally like lied to folks, which he's the king of lying. But he was like, "We're gonna bring prices down, day one," and like people were affecting, with how the economy was, and like Biden tried to do things, the Inflation Reduction Act that's was working. It took some time, but that was working. An infrastructure bill that was working. So it's like, but people were still being pinched. And I think people are feeling even worse of a pinch now, and kind of feel like there's stuff that Trump did the first term that's like now people are feeling it now as well, and people don't even realize that too. So how we like educate folks on this?
One of the biggest things that I try and tell a lot of clients, and I think I kind of get on my horse sometimes, maybe on Instagram stories or if I'm making a TikTok. A lot of it actually comes down to the content you're consuming, who you're following, you're watching, and what that narrative is telling, right? Because we know that clickbait style content, good and bad, is what gets views and therefore gets pushed out into the algorithm. And so you have to work hard to curate your social media. If you have social media, we all scroll Instagram, we all hit the late night doom scroll, but we've got to do a better curating our own feeds to not show us things that put us into some dysregulated state with our money. I don't want to go watch a bunch of lifestyle creators that are doing whole pantry restock of a $2,000 Costco haul because that's not realistic right now. Maybe I have that financially. I can't do that, right? But we need to do a better job our social media feeds to show us the people that are speaking to this, that are actually talking about, how to make things on a low budget, on lower income. Also, finding other things that bring joy rather than social media, because that's I think all of the current administration wants to feed on is social media and the fear factor, if you will, right? Like that's what Americans hooked, right? Is the train wreck that we're watching consistently, and social media just floods that. So that's things I tell everybody is like, we got to curate our own algorithm. Got to make sure that what we're consuming actually brings us joy, actually helping us. It isn't just us, somebody that's already loaded and is, doing some pantry that's not feasible or reasonable in our own lives right now.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. I'm just like going outside, and literally before we jumped on, I literally went to a local Chamber of Commerce event supporting a small business celebrating their first year in business, and I've been like supporting at least since like day one, and just, hey, how you doing? How you been? And like and all the small businesses that I support in the area, like just and I spent like no money. Like, I got free food, like supporting organizations, supporting a local business that provided food and that's new to the area, and like literally came home like half hour, boom, like you can do things without. It's hard, but definitely look into like doing things that don't really go to the park. They do like just walking and do. There's things to be done, just like not doom scrolling and everything. Because as much as I can't stand the administration, the White House IG page, like they, like I need tips because their social media be on point.
Totally, it's we're watching a trainer then, and it's a masterclass in marketing. Like we didn't get here because they weren't good at this, right? Like I cannot stand President Trump, but he knows exactly what he's doing. He's not some he is a dummy, but like yes. he knows what he's doing, and he knows we don't want him here, and what's going to continue to like elevate to line his pockets. And we need to do a better job sometimes of getting from that, right? Like you said, being in community, looking at around us and saying, how can I uplift these other people around me, rather than the kind of parasocial relationships through the phone.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, like find people online that's actually like doing the work that's going to give you like the stuff that's really harming us. Like, I'm going to an event in DC, like, featuring like Joy Reid, who I love, and gives like the hard truth of what Trump is actually doing, to us in America. And again, it's not, like I say, it's not just him, because people live in certain cities and certain states that the local government is harming folks, too. So, you mentioned that we got a big governor's race in California that I talked about briefly on the podcast a few weeks ago, and a mayor's race in LA that's very interesting to see how that plays a part. So, like, different states and cities are doing different things that might cause even more harm than the federal government is doing.
Totally. And they're following the playbook, right? We're following the playbook that we've seen from Trump, where you say provocative things, there zero data behind it. But if you're able to tap into the feelings people are feeling, then we may not even worry about the data, right? Particularly looking at the mayor's race in LA. Spencer Pratt, who has wild things, is consistently wrong with a lot of the things that he's saying from a political standpoint, from an actual like logistic and policy standpoint. But he's tapping into the emotions of what people are feeling. People are maybe feeling unsafe at times, or people are feeling frustrated by the fire, recourse there. And so, yeah, if he can make people feel it's an us versus them mentality, which is the exact playbook that Trump ran on both times, all three times, like, then that's what's going to continue to see, not just in any presidential race, in any Senate race, but governors, mayors, probably even city council at times, right? Yeah. I think you're spot on. It's more localized than it is just federal right now.
Yeah, I know where I live at. We literally just had a local school board race, and our school board has been a disaster the last couple of years. We had our property tax increase, and then the school board decided to add a 10% school tax on top of the state property tax. So, like, and I owed like federal property tax. When I did my taxes, I owed IRS. So 2025 was not a good year for taxes, on top of paying for my business taxes too. So I got hit in all different ways last year. So, and of course the local government wanted their money right around Christmas time too. So like that wasn't fun. So
yeah, right, when your personal budget is already spiking.
Yes, exactly. Now, talk about budgeting. I know, like, people always say you gotta budget better, or learn how to budget or have a budget. Like, it's almost become like a buzzword in a way, and it doesn't help that with food increasing, everything. I say all the time, everything is going up except the check. But is budgeting even like? Could you still try to budget in the 2026 economy?
Yeah, I think honestly, I'm kind of a budget homer in that, like, I think budgeting is even more necessary. And I think that the issue that we have with budgeting is there's been so much negative connotation placed on it. And so much of the loud voices in personal finance in the 90s made budgeting sound like this soul depriving, soul sucking, terrible activity. And we recognize that what a budget does is it tells us kind of where we want our money to go so that we can have a plan in place for it. One of the things my wife and I really like to focus on with practice is values-based budgeting. So you run an exercise early on in our client journey. We identify the 5 core values for someone. We get really clear on them. We have kind of prompts to really get super hyper focused on what does value mean for you in your life. What does it look like if you're living life within this value? What does it look like if you're not living life within this value? And then what we do is we build a budget that reflects that. For example, if somebody says that a value for them is adventure, and that adventure looks like travel, well, then we need to find a way to give you some of that into your life so you have joy. And yes, that means we have to cut some things from your budget. We can afford everything. We just can't afford everything all at once. So maybe we have to trim some of that stuff up, right? Or if you have a value that is security, integrity, maybe that means we pay off debt a little bit faster than we might otherwise, right? We trim up more things so that we can put more towards debt, or we get a second job, whatever it might be. But when you lead with your values, your budget doesn't have to feel negative. It doesn't have to feel like this crappy thing you have to check in on week, right? It gets to be like, okay, I've built the budget. I know what this. I'm going to track my money afterwards and make sure it's aligning with what I was hoping for, and I'm good. And I think that's the most important thing, again, in 2026. Like, we see that a lot of people, I think, are craving this change away from tech, away from AI, away from, impersonal relationships, and we're craving personality, we're craving community, we're craving culture, we're craving art, we're craving all of these things that remind us the joy of being a human, right? Because we look at maybe who's our leader and we're like, this I have no joy here right now. I need to remind myself I'm allowed to be happy. And so a budget is more important for that, right? Budget in for that $40 paint and wine night, right? Where you like paint and get some glasses of wine, follow along with a teacher. Like, let's put that in the budget. You really want to go to this Zumba class or something because that makes you feel great. You're working out, listening to good music, you're with friends, whatever. Let's put it in the budget. That can be a value for you. Those things are important to you. Let's trim all the other crap that we don't care about. If you don't care about Netflix or the streams, let's cut some of the streams. It's only one. Let's just live there. Or if you don't care about, dining out a ton, cool. Trim that. Let's start eating at home a little bit more. I think things that we can do within a budget so that we can have some joy in 2026 and moving forward. And hopefully that gives people some hope that, like, okay, I'm encouraged. Right now might be difficult fiscally, politically, whatever it may be, but down the road things hopefully might look a little bit better.
You mentioned earlier about who you consuming and like budgeting. So I know, like, immediately I was like trying to consume content, just for educational purposes for me, like, of like, is leaving the United States an actual possibility? What does that look like? And like, money. A lot, for me personally, a lot of bad stuff has to happen for me to actually do that. Like, in terms of like people passing away, like I have responsibilities of family members that I'm caring for. So, but like literally, I was like started like, is Canada the possibility? And I saw the house prices throughout Canada and is just as expensive than here in the U.S. Okay, Canada's not an option. Well, it's like other ways that I see, like content creators that I follow, like, is Spain an option? Is Portugal an option? Or South America? Like my wife's best friend literally moved to Colombia. I was like, oh, she. Okay, we monitoring that situation very closely. Tell my wife all the time, like, is that a possible option? At least just to visit, see how it is. Like, so in terms of budgeting, like, could that be like a possible option? Like, somebody has a goal, using like kind of my social work hat. Like, my long term goal is like, I want within the next like 4 years, by the time 2028, like, there's comes around the next election, like, I want to be out of here. Like, could that be budgeted in somehow, somewhere?
Yeah, I think you hit it spot on. My wife had clients that are gay couples that feel unsafe. We've had couples that are queer couples, with one parent maybe being trans, and they've felt unsafe. And so that's exactly the conversation that we've had: is where would you want to move to? What does that look like? Let's go visit and see. Is this place somewhere that we feel is more, accepting, more welcoming, less unsafe, or more safe, I should say. And let's do the kind of backwards planning of what this would look like. How does life need to change? I think you also made a good point that the big part is that we have family here, right? It's the same thing we see folks who maybe want to move a state where they don't feel safe, right? Maybe some of the states in the South where
Mm-hmm.
maybe women's rights don't feel as protected. So many people are like, we'll just leave the state. It's not that simple.
Yeah.
It takes money to leave. You might have a community there. It might be family. You shouldn't have to leave your home because of wild policy actions. And I know obviously there's a deeper message there too because of our own immigration policies in the US, right?
Mm-hmm.
And who we do and don't accept and what they look like and what languages they speak, right? And how white passing they are. I think that if somebody has a goal that they're truly considering leaving the US, backwards planning within a budget becomes even more a priority. How can we get our budget as fixed as possible? What would work look like? What does it look like over there for cost of living? And how do we practice doing it now so that at a moment's notice we can make that change? We can go. I would be totally, honest with you as well. My family's considered that, right? And I'm a white dude with a white wife and white kids. From the outside looking in, right? Anybody would be like, okay, this is, a classic white American family, right? But the values that I personally uphold, like I don't see them reflected all the time here in
Mm-hmm.
America. And I wonder, okay, what happens for my daughters if one of them needs medical care 16 years from now and our country is swung so far in one direction that she can't have safe access to healthcare, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where would we go? What would that look like?
Yeah.
And so it's a scary thing to think about, right? Like, what would that have to look like from a family? I'm much like you. A lot of things would have to be kind of crumbling down, but I recognize that for many Americans right now, they're actually living those worst
Mm-hmm.
things for them, and they maybe need to find the next place to go and where that is. And you're right. There's so many good content creators out there right now that are speaking on this. They're saying, hey, Americans, not only is maybe immigration coming into the U.S. a thing, but did you know that you could leave as well? And here's what life looks like living in Amsterdam as a family of four, right? Or here's my 9 to 5 in Colombia. Like I think that there's a lot of people doing really cool work to open up the eyes of Americans to other places in the world that maybe we haven't been exposed to, or maybe that we've had some preconceived notions about.
And then to add to that, a study that came out last year. There's anywhere between like 56 to 63 million Americans who are caregivers, and many folks are caring for older family members or kids with complex medical issues that you can't leave because as much as the U.S. is in shambles, though it is we still have one of the top medical institutions in the world or here in the U.S. that we could get some sort of adequate care compared to going to like another country that we wouldn't know or decide to try to go. So it's that plays a part. Like I can't just jump and leave even if I had to have the money. So that adds to that stress as well.
Totally. There's that. I think it's maybe the sandwich generation, right? I have a client that I'm
Yes.
thinking of almost immediately. She's effectively helping support mom financially in some ways, and when she needs support physically, and she still has daughters she's taking
Mm-hmm.
care of, right? And she's tucked right in the middle. And this goes back to that value-based budgeting question. One of the first things we talked about when we were talking about trimming up the budget and what it needs to look like, she identified like family is a value for me, and I would fire you, Justin, before I stopped helping my mom or my daughters. And it's to me like, yeah, of course, right? Like I would not ask you to give them up just so you could support my work. But I reminded her like, hey, if that's a value to you, my job is to help you find the ways to do that, find the ways to support your family and hold accountable to your budget in that way. But a lot of people are struggling with that, having caregiving duties both top
Mm-hmm.
and below.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. No, that's part of my one-on-one work as well. Focusing on sandwich generation folks. Myself living in that and dealing with that on a day in day out basis. So yeah, it's a different beast. And there's like at least 18 million folks who are sandwich generation folks, and that number is just going to increase if
Yeah.
people decide to to have children, and I know many who had babies during the pandemic and are new sandwich generation folks. So it's like, and some people don't even realize they're part of the sandwich generation because, especially black and brown cultures, are, it's almost like an expectation or rules. Is like,
Really.
oh, yeah, we just care for our elders. That's just what we do. And then, yeah, we got small kids of our own. It's just that's just life. But like, there
Yeah.
actually is a name for it, and the struggles behind that name.
Yeah.
So
It's
that's also my education. Like, hello, you welcome to the sandwich generation. This is what it looks like, and like,
yeah.
let's name that.
Yeah, it's probably dark, but both of my parents passed away. My father passed away when I was 17. My mom passed away in 2022. I was 31, and what was one of the conversations I had with my wife was like, yes, I'm now an orphaned adult. Also, I'm not going to have to care for an aging parent. I'm not going to have that additional burden or cost or struggle. A weird sense of guilt and shame because we don't do a good job setting up those in the sandwich generation for providing access to things, for giving sustainable ways to support aging parents. And it was weird confronting that idea of like, whoa, why am I talking about that? Why is that something in my mind? But it's because I'd recognized that the sandwich is held back sometimes financially because there's these massive hearts, or you said entire cultures that say, wait, we don't just give up on others when they're old. We don't just like leave them to the streets. What is this, right? Yeah, it's the unfortunate scenario that I think is only going to continue to grow for a lot of families.
Yeah, and go back to our very beginning of our conversation that it's also a policy issue as well. Educating our elected officials in Congress, House of Representatives of this issue, and myself, going down to DC and talking to my senator about different bills that need to pass to assist us as sandwich generation folks. So that's the struggle definitely continues day in day out,
Yeah.
and just to educate folks about it.
Somebody yesterday, actually, in our local Facebook group, I've seen them pop up pretty frequently with some relatively conservative viewpoint. They said, hey, why free for seniors to take the local rapid transit train? Like, this is ridiculous. The rest of us have to pick up a tax for them to ride. It's like, what are you talking about, dude? You don't want seniors to be able to ride the train free? Like, get real. That's what you're worried about your taxes. Like, that of all the service you're worried about, seniors and students 18 and under riding the train for free. You really need to shake them for more when they're already on maybe a fixed income with security or a pension. Like, it blew me reading it, and it was like, how have we lost our moral compass so much, or our care for community? And I think one of the I used to teach social studies when I was a teacher, sixth grade, humanities, so language arts and social in California in sixth grade. It's ancient civilizations, and so I'm in these deep works on Egypt and the Cook Kingdom and ancient China, ancient Indian, and how they care for community. And then you like look at our world and how we take care of our elders and our children and what spaces families can be in. And it's just like, what? How have we gone so far from this view or this ideology? It was crazy reading that Facebook post yesterday, being like, charge seniors to ride the train, man. Really? Thank goodness a bunch of people in the comments were like, this is words. Please don't ever post again.
It kind of goes back to Trump made it okay to be like this. When he first started to run back in 2015, and when he won, and the horrible first 4 years, and he continues, and so it was always there. We just made it like more acceptable, I guess. And now we're like,
Totally.
2026, and I think of like, for the most part, how united we were after 9/12, 2001, Um, for like I said, for the most part, because Muslim Americans were being attacked, unfairly. Um, but like that sense of unity and like agreeing to disagree and just keep it moving, and now it's just like COVID didn't help too. It was like my mom passed away from COVID. Like, oh, we don't care. Like, I'm not wearing a mask. So like, so the stuff that is like was no sense of humanity or like nothing. It
None.
was just
Yeah,
insane.
it really is. I was listening to a podcast the other day that said, when somebody had out their idea that we were all just kind of collectively like, what are you talking about? They typically just like lived out by themselves. They didn't have access to social media. We didn't have, ways for them to post their online to everybody else. They were just kind of like all that like lived out in the corner, right? That wasn't a thing. My computer going off? Whoa. My phone? Sorry, apologies. When these folks lived in the forest or something, they didn't have access to social media. So they weren't posting these thoughts. They were kind of like the person out in the country that's a little wild. But now everybody has access to social media and we can share these thoughts. It causes us to just other, right? Like, okay, they're part of this group that I don't care about, and therefore their opinion doesn't matter, or their safety doesn't matter, or their humanity, like you said, doesn't matter. And it's unfortunate that we've to this point. And of course, the net, the denominator for everybody is that we're all financially struggling, or we're all financially feeling the effects of money more prevalent in our lives than it should. We shouldn't be having to think about money all the time, and yet we are.
Yeah, and like for me, like I don't know where we go from here other than like continue to have these type of conversations and educate folks about it. They place blame on any sort of like politician or party, whatever. But just money and shame, and it's been going on for generations, and the laws and all these different things that's happened throughout like American society. Like just doing research about it, like we've always had racist presidents. If you think back from the very beginning, and it's like
Yeah.
stealing land from Mexico. It's like all this imperialism that the U.S. has done throughout the world, and America has caused as much as the immigration problems by invading Latin American countries like pretty much my whole life. So it's like now you want to blame immigration on Latin America. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
It's crazy.
So
It's absolutely crazy.
so like all that to say is like it's goes back to money. Like we got like a whole like people stop talking about the genocide happening in Gaza. That's our American tax dollars went into that. So it's like we all feel it, but then like there's all this division within each other. It's like we all feeling we all need to get gas. Most of us need to get gas for our cars. If you like we all like gotta buy food to eat in the supermarket. So we all feeling that pinch, and as much as I want a financial coach to talk about my problems, I can't afford it. Like it's like
Yeah,
well, if I could, like I'm barely like making it through. Like so it's like really hard out here to live.
totally, totally. One of the things I recommend for almost everybody, we don't do it enough. There may be somebody listening that's like, I do it all the time. One of the things that I recommend for everybody, you need to find the folks around you that you really deep, right? Your real close friends, and you need to start conversations about money, because you need to be courageous enough to take the leap to name it for every. And so that might look like, hey, let's all have a potluck dinner. I want to see everybody. And at that potluck dinner, naming it, just being like, yeah, the economy right now. And so having you guys over to dinner is special because we didn't want to go out and spend a bunch. It can be as that simple, but just honoring what we're feeling is going to tell everybody else around you, like, okay, I'm not alone in this struggle. My community is as well. And then we can start to have those frequent events of like, yep, it's Saturday, that neighborhood potluck night where we invite the and the Joneses over. Great. And be something where we start to live in the community or maybe bring back some of that localized community support. But we can only get there when folks are courageous to name it and to say it out loud, to say, I'm struggling, or this is hard, or we're, cutting things from our budget that we might not want to. I think that people need to hear that others are facing similar so that they feel empowered to go do the work themselves as well.
Yeah, I like that idea of well, where that courage is where's that going to come from? Like, or is just like I said, we talked about the shame and guilt, and we talking about culturally too, and just like, or growing up, like what happens in these four walls, stay in these four walls. Like you don't say nothing outside of these. So like, and that goes back to like mental health and therapy. You see a therapist, like why? Like why you talk about your business like that? So, like, yeah, you're right. We have to name this. Like a lot of us are, many of us are in the same boat. Like we gotta get gas, we gotta buy food. Like rent keeps going up. Like taxes keep going up. For some, the taxes are going worse than others. So like, different states get taxed higher than other states. So it's yeah, if you live in a good state, yeah, that might go back in a better education system. That might go back to better services in the city. But like at the end of the day, like you're showing money that could be used for like your own personal needs.
Totally. And it doesn't, as content creators, you and I can sit here and talk about it all the time and hope that the folks who follow us feel that connection, feel where our hearts are at, and genuinely care. But there's something different about being across the dinner table from somebody that you finally know loves and cares about you, that you've been events with, that maybe you've been through hard things with, and they hear you say, I'm struggling with this budget right now. Things are really tight for our, and we're cutting things or whatever. Having the courage to chat with somebody that you love, person to person, it does something. It tells somebody that they're safe to feel that. They're to be worried or to be scared, and that the community loves them and is going to rally them as well. Right? I think that's important. As commentators, we can do that only so much. It's totally different face to face with somebody naming that for them.
No, absolutely. Where can people reach out to you that they want to work with you, work with your wife? Like how people can reach out to you?
Yeah, biggest place that we're on is Instagram. So follow us at Price of Avocado Toast. We try to create content there as frequently as possible. We got 3 young kids, 6 2. So I'm like knuckle deep in diapers some days. But other than that, yeah, we're all on Instagram and our podcast. Anywhere you're listening to this, and check us out. Price of Avocado Toast.
Diapers are I mean, everything's expensive, but I know I deal with it all the time. My 9 to 5 work, like of clients, I need diapers, and like try to send them to like the nearest diaper bank in the community. So it's like I can't imagine the money you spend on the diaper.
California just made it to pass the bill where it's like 400 diapers every newborn. I think when the baby's born, they get sent home like 400 diapers. That's a California policy they just enact. I'm excited for families, but of course, somebody on the the piece of content that got posted about it, the top that was like, great, that'll last me a week or something. It was like, yeah, it's better than nothing. Dang it! Like we got to celebrate something.
How did you come up with the name of the podcast?
Yeah, we were just sitting at home, like I said, having a bottle of Sonoma Infidel, and we were during COVID and thought we should start a show. And so we went on Instagram and asked for people to give us some idea. Somebody said cost of avocado toast, kind of playing on the idea of millennials just blow through their lattes and avocado toast, but we didn't like the sounds because we were both early elementary teachers, and we didn't like the ost of avocado toast. So we went with Price. So there was a different sound in there. And the dang thing stuck. We are 6 years later with a whole ass business out of it.
No, I love that, and continue to great work, and we always chat online between Instagram and Threads, so we'll continue to have those conversations.
Definitely, man. Thanks so much for having me on. It's been a blast.
No problem. Thanks for coming on.